Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. Each week, host Bryan O'Rourke brings you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse for what matters most for your business in the age of exponential technologies.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the podcast episode 161 with our interview with Alan Thompson, who's the founder of a very cool company, GroeFit, which uses vision technology and machine learning to augment features of membership management solutions for gyms. Alan is a former Marine and has a very interesting journey in launching his company and doing what they're doing. So I look forward to you listening to the interview. I can't believe it is June already. I know there's some things going on around the world in coming months. Look at the links in the show notes below for information both on GroeFit and Alan and anything else we might think you should be aware of in the coming weeks in the industry overall. So without further ado, let's welcome Alan to the podcast. Well, hello, listeners. As I mentioned in the intro, we have Alan Thompson, the founder of GroeFit, with us. Alan, how are you this morning? Where are you calling us from?
I'm doing great. I'm calling from San Antonio. It's where I live and where we work out of.
Oh, awesome. Well, Alan, we talked a few weeks ago, I think, when you joined the Fitness Industry Technology Council, and I've been checking out your product and what you're doing in the space. We'll get into that a little bit later, but why don't you tell the audience what prompted you to start the company? What were you thinking when you dove into this?
I had the idea because I was actually going to open a rock climbing gym here in San Antonio. I saw a big opportunity for that, and in the process of doing my due diligence for that, found out it was going to be pretty competitive, and I tried to think of how I could entrench myself as an operator. And I came up with a computer vision-based concept for rock climbing, and then eventually it came up in conversation with the person who would become my co-founder, who's more technical. And we kicked the can around for a bit and decided it fit better for big box gyms. And I started doing market research and really trying to validate the idea as much as I could. And it just seemed like a great fit for the industry. And next thing I knew, the idea just kept growing and growing and growing. And it got to a point where, I had to take action on it.
That's very cool. What did your market research kind of tell you? What were you finding out as you were asking yourself questions about this? I mean, what observations led you to think that something was needed? What job to be done were you trying to solve for?
Like kind of basic industry stats. Half of new gym members quit within 6 months. At the time when we first had the idea, COVID, reports were coming out about how industry revenue was, decimated. And I was like, oh, well, gyms will need a solution to retain and keep their members and provide a top tier service to make up for that loss of revenue. I did things like go to URSA and talk to gym owners and found out pretty quickly that I was wrong about that, even though industry revenue was down. A lot of the gyms that survived that kind of onslaught were more profitable or almost as profitable as they were pre-COVID. But I did find that, they had other issues with staffing, quality staff to deliver a quality experience to their members. And we figured we could help with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know in your website at GroeFit, that's GroeFit, and there'll be links in the show notes below, of course, for people to check out what you're doing. But I saw in there, of course, you make reference to personalization, you make reference to engagement, and I know you're using a certain visual system that's tracking people and garnering information from that type of a technology to collect information. Tell us a little bit about personalization and your view of that, and how your tool works to help deliver personalized experience.
Well, to me, a lot of the industry personalization is kind of going towards automated
Yep.
personalization, right? Which is definitely needed. Gyms need those services, but nothing beats person-to-person personalization, the actual face-to-face engagement. I mean, because otherwise, what are gyms going to do? If they keep embracing this virtual world, gym members will have no reason to go to the gym, right? They can just work out at home, get everything they need, virtual coach, etc. So they need to provide value to their members to bring them into the gym facilities. And what it's pretty clear what members want is human engagement, community, uh, and that means that the gym staff, it's the responsibility falls to the gym staff to create that friendly, welcoming environment.
And so I saw on your website, I think we chatted a little bit about this. One of your solutions actually is for group fitness, right? Where you're tracking people who are attending classes. Is that right?
Yeah, so through our conversations with gym owners, a lot of them have trouble knowing how many or who is like kind of dropped into their class. Maybe it's because of things like ClassPass, or they just don't have the current systems in place. So yeah, we kind of spun off a smaller version of our product to help gym members know how many, who, and what their gym members are doing in their classes. So using movement pattern recognition to count like sets and reps of certain physical activities.
That's really interesting. How do you have that? Are you installing that now on a few beta sites, or where are you at in the deployment of the technology at this point?
We just recently made the decision to pivot that direction. So we have the first prototype of the product together, and we're going to be attempting to get those early partnerships for that product this week, actually, at an industry event, Cybec.
Cybec, yep, Cybec.
Yeah.
It's in Pasadena. That's right.
Yes, sir.
Right up
So
the road from
hopefully,
here.
yeah. So hopefully that pans out, and yeah, we'll just keep pushing that and our main product.
So with respect to this, do you see, I personally have talked about this for a long time. Do you see this kind of a tool, a tracking type of tool that automates engagement and personalization as being kind of table stakes to execute this stuff at scale for large boxes? I mean, how else will brands be able to do these kind of things without this kind of technology?
Yeah, I think a computer vision based solution to provide scalable, personalized experiences is essential.
Yeah.
The Army has a program called Holistic Health and Fitness, and their top strategic objective for that program is to provide individualized, optimized soldier training. But it's a new program, and when you try to imagine that program scaling out, the resources that they'll need around staffing and coaching and everything like that, it's just not scalable. In the industry right now, on the commercial side, staffing is a huge constraint,
Yep.
so as the demand for personalization increases, the only way to deliver that personalization, whether it's through automated personalization or person to person, is by using technological solutions.
Absolutely true. I tout Basic Fit all the time because it's such a well-known global operator, and they have done that very, very well. But as you know, you better have a series of tools connected in a very thoughtful way to execute that at scale, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of chains globally that have done this well yet. Um, Is there anything you could attribute that to, or what are your thoughts about that?
I'm pretty new to the fitness industry. I've only been kind of on the outside trying to get in for, a couple of years. But my take on it is that a lot of the people are trying to create data silos around their offerings, and that creates it's just, I don't think it's something you can do with health and fitness. So you can look at like healthcare, health tech, it's booming, fitness tech is booming. These two techs are going to merge together. You can see it happening now, like the Fit Act. A bunch of players in the fitness industry are at DC trying to push the expansion of fitness being included in health data. Uh, so if you're going to do that, you have to have a unified system. You have to empower the people over their fitness data because their fitness data is their health data. So it's a these two aspects are in kind of conflict with each other right now.
Yes. Oh, yes, indeed they are. So tell me, so on your road, I know I've asked this of entrepreneurs like you before for our listeners, on the road of building this company with your co-founder and the story you told about why you kind of did it and how you got here. In building the business from where it is now, from where you got the idea to getting it to this point to moving forward, what are some insights and kind of pearls of wisdom that you might be able to share with the audience about your journey to date, Alan?
Let's see here. I was in the Marines, and in the Marines, when you want to get something done, it's fairly easy compared to, the private sector. You have a mission, you're given it, everyone knows the mission needs to get done, and it's pretty easy to marshal the resources needed to get things done. Private sector, you really need a vision that not only a good vision, but you need to deliver that vision in a way that resonates with people to get them to want to take action. So that really, I guess, comes down to a lot to marketing. So, I've been learning a lot about marketing and trying to get my marketing game on par, so that I can effectively deliver the vision to get people to act on it.
So that's your number one challenge is getting people to act on it by sharing information, content, etc., for people to
Yeah.
kind of connect with what you're doing.
Yeah. And so my biggest lessons would be anything around marketing, having a content communication plan and strategy and testing like crazy and having clear metrics. Marketing's so difficult because it's art and science. So if it was just one or the other, it'd probably be a lot easier, but it's this really strange blend of both that I'm still learning, but my advice would be get good at marketing, really good at
Yeah.
marketing.
Competition for attention, right? You first have to get people's attention, and then after that, you have to earn their trust. So that's the hard part is the first part, right?
Getting the attention.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part. Well, your partner is a technical person. Do you think it's an advantage to you to have someone, having two people as co-founders, one with certain strengths and another with other strengths? Are you finding that to be advantageous?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, military background from years and years of experience. I know I need a bunch of different people with a bunch of different skill sets that think different ways, but are aligned to that long-term vision so that we can move independently but cohesively together. And
Yeah.
yeah, so he brings a lot that I don't have skill set wise. Uh, I identified early on that a marketing co-founder would be highly valuable. We just haven't been able to find a marketing co-founder. But yeah, definitely.
So,
varying, go ahead,
no, you go ahead. Keep going. I interrupted.
varying skill sets and ways of thinking are very valuable.
Yeah, they are very much so. Can you explain? I'm curious about the camera that you're using vision without getting any trade secrets away. How are you doing that actually?
Like from what's happening behind the
Technically,
scenes.
yeah, yeah. So is it a camera or is it what is it? How is it tracking? Is it using a camera system or what kind of technology are you using in general for vision?
Yeah, we put together a camera product. The model runs on the camera, which handles a lot of the computational load. And then it also splits some data to the cloud. So it's a hybrid model.
Are you using edge computing or is it all cloud-based?
Yeah, it's edge. So the model is running on the camera in on
Yep,
premise
yep.
and splitting some data using the cloud for some things.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about the technicalities of these kind of technologies because years ago, when I was distributing group fitness programming for Les Mills, they launched or tried to launch a Club Connect product. I forget what the name of it was, with a camera system for group fitness, and the technology I don't think was there yet. Sometimes you're too ahead of the curve. Nowadays, with compute becoming so more robust in its availability to companies, executing these kind of things is a hell of a lot. It's not easy, but it's a hell of a lot less challenging when you have the kind of infrastructure readily available to companies like yours to go into market with solutions that you have AWS, all these other different kind of cloud technologies available of all sorts that enable innovation where you're not having to worry about your own servers and your own infrastructure. You can rent it out. When we were looking at this with Les Mills, I guess it's been a decade ago. The robust infrastructure wasn't there to make it happen. Do you think that's an advantage for you because you're not burdened by legacy technology and you could be more nimble in the development of the solution?
Yeah, I mean, I forget where I saw it. I want to say it was like a TED Talk. It says one of the most important things in business is timing.
Yep,
And yeah, so you 10 years ago would have been much more difficult for something like this.
yep.
But there was a Stanford AI, research paper about AI and how the costs have gone down so much. And this was the report I'm referring to is about 2 years old.
Right.
And so this was really before ChatGPT and all these LLM models were released. And the what's his name, Sam Altman, he did an interview where he said him and his tech CEO buddies have a bet that there'd be a one person billion-dollar company, which is crazy, but it's
Yeah.
enabled by that robust infrastructure that you're talking about. So yeah, I definitely think that our timing is great and we have an advantage with it. Now, that's not saying like someone could easily pick up it and have much more resources than us, and we're going to have to fight for it. But I think we have a compelling vision. Once I can figure out how to tell everybody about it, and yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking when I was listening to a very well-known, I'm trying to remember his name. It was a great podcast. I was watching a vlog yesterday. His name will come to me, but he talked about the fact that ideas are a dime a dozen. It's really comes down to execution, right? The ability to do the things you're describing that really separates those that'll, achieve the end versus just having ideas about things. That's the hard part, right?
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is the hard
er,
part.
Early on, I would talk about my ideas and what I wanted to do with so many people, and my co-founder and some people on my team would be like nervous. They'd be like, "Oh, we shouldn't share that with them. We shouldn't talk." I'm like, well, sharing the idea and them hearing it and taking action on it and succeeding is probably quite low of a probability. I feel pretty good about just talking. Uh, because yeah, like you said, ideas dime a dozen, but action, putting the tread to the road, if you will, is a totally different story.
Yeah, to prove his point, he was referring to, and this guy's name is going to come to me. He was referring to he had befriended Warren Buffett. He has a very interesting story about that.
Hmm.
And Charlie Munger got to know them, and he told the story of Warren being a little boy in business. He told the story about how Warren had started finding a guy that could fix pinball machines, and they would buy these used broken pinball machines and rent them out to barbershops. And then he told the story about them finding a Rolls Royce that was broken and his friend fixing it and renting it out for weddings. This is all when he was a young man, a very young man, still living at home. And the point he was making is exactly that. He said that, and Warren understood that. It's what made him a great investor, is understanding how important execution is and understanding the basis. So I'm a big believer in Mark Cuban's thinking that patents are nothing else than buying a lottery ticket to a lawsuit. So, there are a lot of great entrepreneurs and business leaders that share your thinking that ideas are a dime a dozen, but execution is really what's more important than anything, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess that's why the other great kind of divider of successful entrepreneurs is persistence, you know.
That is the truth, isn't it? That is the truth. Well, great. Well, Alan, so you're going to be at SciBEC, of course, this week. The podcast will come out after the SciBEC event. Are there any other events you're planning to attend in the rest of the year, or what are your plans?
Uh, my focus for the company is really developing our government contracting services, that Army program I told you about, holistic health and fitness. I think we can add a lot of value to that program, and building my team out more, trying to hopefully find the marketer that's a right fit for us, and yeah, just getting funding, releasing funding in different waves for the company, and that's pretty much it.
Well,
And
that's a lot.
just keep doing.
Yeah, keep doing. That's a lot. It's, raising funding, finding other co-founder, marketing support, all that. That's not easy to do. That's getting back to the point on execution, right, Alan?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, great. Well, listen, listeners, in the show notes, you'll be able to get links to Alan on LinkedIn, his company, and learn more about GroeFit. Alan, thank you for spending time with us today. I know it's a pleasure to get to know you, and I know you'll be making great strides in the weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, the audience should be watching out. They could, go to the website, follow us on LinkedIn. I'm hoping if everything goes as planned, the next few months will be pretty good.
I'm sure it will be. Thanks for joining us, Alan. We really appreciate you making time and sharing what you're doing with the audience.
All right, thank you.
Hello, listeners. This is Bryan O'Rourke, and thanks so much for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. The podcast is made possible by the Fitness Industry Technology Council, a consortium of global brands working together to enhance the adoption of technologies in the fitness space. Our company, Videri Ventures, which is invested in Vertimax, Montezuma, Gold's Gym, Houston, Texas, and Fitness 24/7 Thailand, also underwrites the podcast, along with our service companies, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and others. Please feel free to share this podcast with your colleagues. And if I can be of any assistance to you, don't hesitate to reach out, bryanko'rourke@gmail.com, or find me on any of the major social networks. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.